Now, in the 4 pricing methods, we talked about how do you support an asking price on a particular offer. And value comparison we talked about as, a way that you can support a much higher price than you otherwise would. Okay? So that's what it is, why it works, or how you actually go about doing that is a process called value-based selling. Okay? And you can think of this as the process of understanding the value that you're providing to the other party and then framing and presenting your offer in such a way as to appear as valuable as possible to them. And the general rule is the more valuable the other party perceives your offer to be, the higher the price that you can charge. And so, as we talked about in the last example of the software, if a company can use your software to get $100 million, then paying you $1 million a year to use the software is a drop in the bucket.
Exactly.
Same thing goes for selling consulting services. Same thing goes for helping people save money. If you can help someone save $10,000 on the purchase of a house, well, they're probably going to be willing to pay you, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 because it's still a savings to them. Okay. In comparison, the value that you're asking for in exchange for the value is far less than the value that they're going to get. So it's a good idea. And, the thing about value-based selling, and I think a lot of people have this image of selling as a very active, aggressive thing. It's like I'm presenting offer after offer and we're going back and forth and, you as the seller are doing most of the talking.
Not really.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Value-based selling is more about listening to what they want, listening to about what they need and what is valuable to them, and then presenting your offer in such a way that you can prove that you're listening to them, and you can also frame your offer in a way that makes it more valuable to them. And there's a wonderful book called Spin Selling. It's on the Personal MBA reading list by Neil Rackham, who did a lot of research and actually proved that it used to be before Spin Selling came out, all these sales books, and you still see it to a certain extent today, it's like all about how to close the deal, how to get the transaction, how to, have somebody purchase from you, which sounds important, right? And, in a more transactional type of sale, like, if you're selling, lemonade at a lemonade stand, you're probably not going to see them again. So, some of those things can actually be helpful. In more of a relationship type of sale, where trust is an important factor, those closing techniques, Rackham proved, are actually harmful. They actually decrease your ability to make the sale because people trust you less. They see you treating it as a transaction. You're not trying to figure out what they need. And as a result, they trust you less and they're far less likely to go through a transaction. So what Rackham talks about is selling as a process of asking good questions and finding out what their situation is, finding out what the implications of their situation is, finding out their problems, finding out their needs, finding out all of this stuff about them, and you're asking questions. They're talking about themselves, which people tend to find themselves very interesting. So they're typically willing to do this. And the more you can find out about who you're selling to, the more options you have to present an offer that they're likely to find valuable.
Absolutely. This reminds me of classically, traditionally, there are thought to be 2 types of salespeople. Salespeople who sell on personality and salespeople who sell on information. And you can really go either way you want, but I've found it to be extremely, extremely beneficial if you can do both. And not as much on the personality. You got to be friendly and you need to be open. But pretty much if you can just be a person who they trust, who is a source of really good information, who just seems like they're hanging out, they're probably going to trust you a lot more. So it feels like they're actually making the decision on their own.
Right.
So if you can combine them, ask the questions and support them with the information that they need to make an informed decision. Also, sometimes if you're just educating them about the product, it's stuff that they think that's really cool. Like, I want to own a dress designed by such and such. I want to own a car designed by such and such. If you find out what's important to these people, you can actually provide them information that matters to them.
Right. And so, it's successful selling has a heck of a lot more to do with listening and paying attention. And the response you're trying to get as a salesperson is, from them is, oh my gosh, they understand exactly what I want. And oh my gosh, they have exactly what I need. And if you can get that response from a person you're selling to, you'll make the sale. And if you can't, then it's probably going to be a lot harder to convince them that, yes, this is a transaction they need to do. And even if they go through the transaction, they're probably going to experience a lot of buyer's remorse, or, have some issues or second guess themselves later, which causes problems. So value-based selling, focus on the value that you're providing and frame what you're offering in a way to meet that need. And you'll have a lot more happy customers.